Hi everyone, today I'm going to tell you about my weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of September 30th, 2019. So the overall predictions, I guess for the weekly general influences are similar to the previous week, but perhaps slightly less intense. So one of them has to do with the square between Neptune and Jupiter. It is slowly separating, but its effect will be felt more or less throughout, say, about October 10th, but it is already slowly separating. And that would have to do with emphasis on sort of excessively wet weather, like we had news again about strong floods in India, and or say oil. We had obviously news the last few weeks about attacks on the I guess the refinery, I believe it was, or crude oil processing plant in Saudi Arabia. And so the oil prices spiked, but news like that, they will continue, and I would say to maybe slightly lesser degree, because we don't have other planets, faster moving planets such as Mars or say Venus, etc., transiting and forming strong aspects to these two planets, Jupiter and Neptune. So I would not expect additional strong events. And for example, last Friday my prediction was that there will be maybe a repeat or some similar, but maybe to a lesser degree, situation that happened in Saudi Arabia, or some sort of an echo of those events or follow-up. And that was my prediction for last Friday. And actually, as of Saturday, there was an explosion in South Korea, specifically on the oil tanker, and I guess another tanker got on fire. So that happened when the moon had aspected that square between Jupiter and Neptune, and the Saudi Arabia attack there on the oil facility happened when Mars has stronger potency and stronger sort of energy of fire, attacks, etc. But we already have these two planets, slower moving planets, separating, and so we will not see them forming square for some months to come, if not years. And there are no, like I said, strong sort of aspects coming. So I would not be expecting major events like those occurring in the near future. And the price of oil may have peaked, at least in the short term, when those two planets were in exact square, and it will now be slowly separating. On the long-term scale, I think there will be a big reversal in oil prices around 2025. That's when Neptune and Jupiter will be in conjunction, and it will actually coincide with Neptune also moving from its own sign of Pisces into Aries, and that's, I guess, a whole other story. Let's stick with this week's predictions. So still emphasis, like I said, on oil, wet weather, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, poisons, drugs, navy, transportation over water, but to a lesser degree than the previous weeks, and this influence will gradually subside, especially after like October 10th or so. Another big, I guess, strong influence, and it will still be in place both this week, maybe not as strongly as last week, but also continuing on really into 2020, it has to do with the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. So that has to do with major geopolitical shifts, strong earthquakes, and various disasters, as well as strong emphasis in the news on things like steel, mining, coal production, tunnels, old buildings, etc. So reshuffling of kind of power. We did have news last week, and last week I guess the emphasis was even stronger because we also have Saturn conjuncting south node of the moon. So again, events that affect either large numbers of people or are known to large numbers of people or occur at the place that has a large number of people at the time, like an airport, for example. So we had news about Jacques Chirac passing away. I guess the old, previous leader of France, and we have, of course, ongoing geopolitical tensions in various parts of the world, and that may, like I said, in 2020, this influence will become even stronger. So these ongoing tensions, such as, I don't know, US-China, China and Hong Kong, and or say Iran, etc., all of those may not may, but will likely continue to sort of escalate and may result in strong sort of redefinition of who's in power, like Brexit, for example, like who's in power, where the border lies, does this particular entity, what is the status of particular, region, etc. So all of those will continue to sort of escalate. As far as like disasters, I didn't see news about any like huge disasters, say Chernobyl or something like that, but I have obviously seen the uptick in strong earthquakes, so 6 point, plus 6.5, 6.8 in, I believe it was Chile. So there were definitely significantly more of them last week, and that will continue. Next kind of a big uptick we may experience this week would be the end of the week, so Friday through the weekend, and also then at the end of October. And like I said, the January of 2020 looks kind of even more significant in that sense. Two other ongoing influences are significant in parallel sort of for China and US that have to do with increased probability of various like conflicts, struggles for power, and also negotiations with partners, and we see that, as well as for US, specifically focus on financial area, focus on leaders, and of course we have this talk about Trump impeachment, as well as for US immigration, lawyers, long distance travel and shipments, and for China, also financial sector, and negotiations with partners, but also increasing governmental controls, reduction of waste, trying to clean up some pollution, or cutting losses, maybe some changes related to like large corporations, again, that's having to do with either replacement of leaders or tightening controls onto sort of what corporations can do, or participation, how many. And there was of course this talk about whether or not, I guess, Chinese stocks can be traded in US markets, something like that. And basically I didn't necessarily see that. I mean, it's possible that may be seen through US chart. Like I said, there's general emphasis on finance. For China, however, the focus is on kind of cutting the losses or increasing the discipline, increasing control to prevent the losses and prevent sort of volatility. And again, positive manifestation could be just reducing pollution, improving infrastructure, starting some large infrastructure kind of project or finishing them up, like at the huge airport that I think had either recently opened, and or like building something that's gonna last a long time. So that's a good time for investing into this. However, on the other side of the coin is that if it's not done, then there's a greater probability that things may collapse or instability may ensue. So in a way, that tightening, kind of is needed or else. And for both the US and China, that influence has been in place from about August 19th, and it will continue through about November 5th. This week, the tensest days for US are October 1st through 5th, and for China, October 5th through 8th. So let's see. As far as the individual days of the week, I think the market will be probably going up for the week. My prediction was for September 30th, Monday, that the market would go down. And also for Thursday, the market would go down. I'm actually recording this on Monday night, and so I have seen the market actually went up today. My prediction for market going down Monday was because of some tense aspects between Venus and Pluto, which may indicate things like financial scandals or problems for like fashion industry or an industry that have to do with like Venus. So it could be, jewelry, desserts, sugar, things like that. And Pluto has to do with things like, again, some problems, pressure or manipulation, scandals, as well as, debt, loans, taxes, etc. There was some news about, I guess, this Forever 21 retailer, fashion clothes, retailer declaring bankruptcy. I have also seen some news related to like finance, where I think it was Visa striking a deal with some sort of I think it was called Revolt or something like that, or sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but basically there was some fintech news there for Visa, where I guess they're trying to basically trying to become a little bit more high tech and stuff. But I haven't seen any like particular problems. There might be some ongoing issues with, you know, some banks or some financial entities being perhaps fined or something like that, but there was nothing that was specifically major that had occurred on Monday that would have brought markets down as I expected. Oh yeah, and this reminds me, perhaps, you know, ongoing sort of this flavor or concerns about finance in the US specifically, they coincide with also some concerns or some increased focus on leadership. And of course, we have this talk about impeaching Donald Trump. And I'm not sure, and again, the peak date for this influence for US chart is actually October 2nd. So I am not sure if on the 2nd we may have, or plus minus a couple of days, we may have an announcement specifically related to Trump, because it's already in the news. And or there may be just an announcement about some other important person, such as an actor, performer, or politician, but something to do with their popularity changing. But actually, it may change for the better, meaning that they may become even more popular, or it's something that basically increases the number of people that know about this person or their influence in some way. So I guess what I'm saying is that it may or may not be related to also information about their finance becoming known, or it would be just independently that there may be increased news about financial sphere, especially for US, and will have to do with sort of announcements either related to currencies and or like I said, some technologies being implemented, or cryptocurrency, something that's like high tech and innovative, or surprises. And again, this may or may not be related to the leader or leaders or important people in the US. And that's pretty much both for Monday, but also for the entire week as well. And other influences that will also be in place more or less the entire week, about the 23rd through 30th of September. I guess Monday that's relevant for this week. That there might be focus on increased, like I said, wet weather, oil, etc. And let's see, there may be some probability of this. Like I said, it's maybe less than last week, but for this week, the strongest probability will be October 5th and 6th, and those may be related to, like I said, oil, bad weather, like I said, high winds, but could also be related to earthquakes or collapses of old infrastructure. So that's more of an influence for several days. Other influences, let's see. As I was predicting for last week, then over the weekend, but it may also continue into Monday, Tuesday of this week, that there might be some important events happening where, say, there's a new leader elected, like we have recently. I guess there was news with Wells Fargo finally ending their search for a new CEO after like 6 months. And sort of any changes in leadership that may have occurred over the weekend and or still on Monday, Tuesday of this week, or changes in maybe reshuffling basically of power in some sort, like a party level power, or like I said, people who are at the top, or anything that's like somebody who's appointed. That may be a change that may last for some time, where maybe every 7 years or so a change, either the person's leadership may be challenged or status quo may change, but a really truly major shift may not happen until even as much as 29 years from now. Obviously, for like Wells Fargo CEO at 29 years, maybe a little bit too much, but maybe 7 years from now is when the person may either step down or move. So this may actually be a fairly long-term appointment. And like I said, any other changes like that have occurred either over this past weekend or Monday, Tuesday, probably would be significant and have some sort of repercussions or follow-up events in about 7 years from now, and then 14 years, 21, 28, 29, something like that. And of course, we had lots of earthquakes last week as well. So places in which we had experienced fairly significant earthquakes, like Chile, again, those places may also expect some sort of follow-up events, again, related to, again, some earth tremors, mudslides, etc. That may reoccur about, again, every 7 years from now. So for Tuesday, I think market will go up, and for US, there may be increased probability, or there may be rather positive news about IT, high-tech, telecoms, aerospace, electric cars, anything that's like involves high-end technology or is innovative, cutting edge. And there may also be good news about relationship with international partners, contracts and agreements. And some of these contracts or negotiations may occur in secret, and or they may involve some sort of manipulations, especially having to do with like rates or taxes or tariffs. But again, this may be occurring in secret, so it's not a direct demand, but rather this kind of a pressure applied indirectly. And or it may also include some threat, but like a threat that's not very direct, or threat that involves nuclear power, or discussions themselves may involve nuclear power, nuclear weapons. Wednesday, I think market will also go up, and for US, as I said already, October 2nd, plus minus few days, there may be an important announcement pertaining to leadership, could be of an entity of some sort, like government or a large established corporation. It could be about politician, performer, actor, that they do something that's really important. They achieve, some sort of award, they achieve some high status. Their popularity will probably increase. At the very minimum, will be some significant change. More people get to know about them, something that's like in the news. And for example, they may announce like maybe new initiative or project that they're participating that involve a lot of other people, like party, country, or social group. Or the announcement or event may occur at a large gathering, like I said, an airport, conference or something like that. Thursday, only about 55% chance, a very slight probability of market going down. So it may either, like I said, I'm not as confident. It may even be a more or less sort of neutral or stay about, I guess, around zero, but maybe slightly negative, prevail energy, in my opinion, for Thursday. For US, however, there may be good news about either investments, stocks, or taxes, so more perhaps tariffs or some changes in taxation scheme or insurance companies. And there may also be increased news about transportation and communication companies, so things related to like cars, phones, social media. And the news may be, like I said, slightly positive, and or just neutral news involving some new contracts, or even reports of lower than expected earnings, or perhaps greater than expected expenses. But if it is a new project that perhaps a company is looking to improve, again, the news can be positive, where perhaps they're spending money to make an improvement, and therefore the stock value goes up because maybe they cut the losses or they invested into making improvements. But overall, globally, I think the market may go down. Then on Friday, I think it is going to be another positive, sort of not positive, but an update for the market. And at the same time, at the end of the week, Friday and into weekend, as well as into the following Monday, October the 7th, there actually will be intensified, I guess, tensions maybe globally, both in terms of geopolitical, I guess, the relations, but also earthquakes and disasters involving either water or mudslides, and old buildings collapsing or something along the lines where things are just kind of shaken up. And or disasters may involve power losses or intermittent sort of outages of supply, or high winds that occur suddenly and disappear, so something like a tornado. And similarly, like I said, the power supply can be intermittent, or there may be interruptions in social networks, or say cloud providers, or accidents related to airplanes, airspace, or electric cars. So electricity is unreliable, or some surprises related to cryptocurrencies, anything so like digital and relies on high sort of technologies, satellite technology or internet may be affected. And like I said, those things can be happening independently. So maybe in one place you have flooding, and in another place you have earthquake, or maybe those things are related, where you have earthquake with say tsunami and power outages as a result of that, or those things can be occurring separately in different parts of the world. But certainly on Monday, when I said here on my blog here at Talsunka.com, September the 7th, actually I should say October 7th, Monday, there may be news that may potentially stem from these events on weekend, or perhaps they will be independent, but there will be an even more, I guess, stronger focus on these kind of sporadic power outages or outages in some services, and perhaps cancellation of the airline travelers stuck because, again, power outages or high winds, or satellite connection is not there, or something like that, where all these high technologies are not available, or again, literally there's just too much wind, or accidents related to electric cars. And on Monday, I think the market, Monday, October the 7th, market may go down, in part due to that. There also will likely be increased news about cryptocurrency as well as forex. So often this kind of influence coincides with specifically USD and euro pair like price fluctuations, value fluctuations. And there may also be increased news about like fintech or any innovations in this kind of sphere related to, again, banks and or financial institutions, and anything that has to do with like communicating via the internet, sending money electronically, cryptocurrencies, or using maybe cybersecurity. So there may be some surprises on October 7th, and unpleasant surprises, or sudden change in the value, sudden announcement, like who one company is merging with another, or cutting partnership ties with somebody, or maybe a sudden change in value in some currencies occurs, and that I think will be perceived as instability in the market, and the market may go down on the 7th of October, which is the following Monday. Let's see. And there may also be, like I said, related to this, some concerns about tensions in international negotiations, but again, the theme of it will likely be either finance or like high-tech, airplanes, airlines, and bad weather related to either earthquakes, excessive winds, and or excessive wet weather. So that's about it for me for this week. I hope you enjoyed this little weekly preview, and having a fantastic week, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye!